All right, looks like we are live in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Figured nobody was live right now, so I figured I got the time, got the energy. The kids aren't here yet, so everything will be, um, how do we say, idealistic. So while everyone gets in here, of course, you know how I do. I'm actually gonna go grab some vape juice for my vape. So I'll be right back, and hopefully you guys will be in here. All right, and I'm back. Had to go grab that real quick. Hmm. What's going on, Iban? Good to see you in the building. So, hopefully, this one isn't going to be a long one. I really don't want it to be an hour, but I'm going to try to explain this as briefly and expediently and as poignant as I can. So, hopefully, this is a good one for the catalog. Um, I always forget the title of my own videos. Goodness, I'm so bad at this. Hmm. What is the title of my video? The title of my video is She Always Wants, it's supposed to be more than. I'll end up fixing it. She always wants more than what she puts out. And that simply means that she wants to always uh, get more than what she is given. And that seems very straightforward on its face. And it's straightforward because we all do. We all want more than what we're given. But as men, we tend to operate a dollar for a dollar is good. Whereas women, they don't tend to operate like that. You can give a woman $1 and she may give you back 50 cents and think that it's even. Because what she'll say is, oh, you remember that time that, all my love and affection that I've been giving you, it's got to mean something. So I figured that I could pay with my time and my affection and I could just give you 50 cents and we can call it even. Most men will accept that because that's how we operate. Um, but nonetheless, it still spells a different story between men and women in regards to the currencies that we use. I wish I could have my homeboy on here. I'm probably gonna. I talked to him today, and he agreed to come on one of my live streams. Um, he just got his doctorates um, in uh, chemical engineering, and he actually has a bachelor's in uh, medical as well. So, and he's a he is one of the top percent guys, or excuse me, top 10% guys, just like myself. I only really deal with guys that are like me, that are really good at achieving things, that are really good at you know being realistic. They're red pill for the most part. My brother isn't so much, but he is. He gets it, but he's married, so he kind of has to live that life where he's a little dishonest with himself, but that's another story. But for the most part, like I said, my friends, they're pretty red pill and they understand this, and they oftentimes they call me because they understand that I have a very good firm grasp on relationships, dealing with women, understanding them, the psychology of it. I've almost fine tuned how to tap into conditioning, so I understand a lot, and I can explain a lot. So we were chopping it up today, and I asked him about being on coming on my channel, because I figured that he has very good insight. He's an intelligent person just like me, um, though he has different ideological view in some aspects in the way that I deal with women as how he does. So I think we agree on a lot of stuff, but he has a different way of looking at it. So I think that'll be a good way to go about talking about just general topics in regards to red pill ideology overall. And like I said, he's one of the um, he's one of the top men out here. He's 30, 34, 34, no children, 2 degrees, one of them being doctorates, one of them, the other one's um actually 3 degrees. I guess you can count. He actually, yeah, he has 2 degrees, two different fields. So he does medical for a bachelor's, and he does chemical engineering for doctorates. Um, he was supposed to be going over to work for Halliburton, but as you know, with this whole coronavirus thing and a setback, the market for oil has been pretty much decimated. But it's coming back, so hopefully he'll get the job. But right now, he's just doing a little psych ward job where he is. But he has no children. He was in the military. He was married once. Um, he's the ideal man for most women. And we were actually having a conversation today. And he says, "You know what? I'm kind of tired of black chicks." And this is not because he started off dating white women or anything like this. This is simply because he's dated black women for so long and he's just tired of dealing with the shit. And he understands the other half of the story because he grew up in Louisiana. He dated plenty of white girls down there. But he majority is attracted. He's not necessarily he finds white women attractive, but he really loves black women. But he even said to me today, he was like, "I'm kind of tired of black chicks. Like, I'm," and that's unfortunate because he has no children. He's a six-figure dude. He has 2 degrees. One of them being a doctor, so he's actually a doctor. Um, what more can you ask for? But once again, these women don't stop to think. They sure they want these types of guys, but they don't stop to think, do these types of guys want them? But I'll have him on the show eventually in the future. I just actually messaged him today to make sure he's all right. I haven't heard from him in a while. He usually calls me like once every 2 weeks or something like that. We'll chop it up for a couple hours, whatnot. But anyways, on to the topic. So, how can I go about explaining them? I'll use actually why I brought him up is because he came up with a way to describe improper exchanges between men and women in such a way that is very fundamental. He describes it as having the wrong currency. And simply what he says is that women tend to women tend to pay with the wrong currency, just like the analogy that I gave earlier. Men, we firmly believe that a dollar for a dollar is an equal exchange, but women on the other hand, they think love and affection and whatever they have to give, pussy, whatever, and 50 cents is a fair exchange for a dollar. That's the improper currency. But I'm here to talk more so about the aspect that women see men through, the lens that women see men through. Um, Brifo's law is very true. That no relationship will become if the woman feels like she is not benefiting from it, and she dictates the relationship in regards to what she gives in it wholly 100% herself. But the thing is, men, we have to understand the currencies as well. We have to understand that not every woman wants the same exact thing. Just like I was talking on Kendra Streams earlier today, and I said that I would go a length about it, and here I am talking about it. That just because a woman, you know, hold on, hold on, wait. I kind of get ahead of myself sometimes. I just want to jump into it, but I have to tell the whole story. The PUA community is teaching men how to mold themselves according to a woman's desires, which I think is completely inaccurate in the way that a man should carry himself. Because you shouldn't find yourself moving with the trends. Just because chicks found light skinned dudes attractive back in the 90s, you shouldn't have wished to be a light skinned dude at any point in time. Just because they like high top fades back in the day, you see plenty of dudes with high top fades. Just because, yeah, it's kind of weird because I think women are actually trolling men at this stage in life because they idolized and found and propped up men who did and looked a certain way, and then all these other men started to conform to that, and they're like, that's stupid. you know they liked them because of his music and his status, but then the dudes, they like, for instance, Lil Wayne. you know Lil Wayne is iconic for skateboards, guitars, skinny jeans, and dreads. What do you see these dudes doing these days? You know, and then 6ix9ine came out, and all these other cats, Lil Pump, uh, Kodak Black, face tattoos. Same thing that these dudes are doing. So dudes follow the culture in regards to what the dudes do, who the women like. But the thing is, they don't understand that the women don't like them because of the way they dress and the way they look. They don't give a shit about that shit, actually. Uh, it's just no different than women like Jay-Z, and they call him ugly. They don't like Jay-Z because of the way he look, but these dudes ain't catching on. And I think that these women are trolling a lot of these dudes because we don't like dudes in skinny tight jeans. We don't like that, you know. And these dudes are super surprised by it. And I'm just like, I thought you guys knew that. It's kind of weird. But anyway, men, we tend to think that we can do a 1-for-1 exchange for um, women on what they desire. That's not true at all. How a woman interprets her desire is very individualistic. But the thing of it is that her desire, what makes her desire individualistic, is because the currency that you use for one woman, you cannot use for another woman necessarily in the same way. I'll give an example. Just like I said earlier today in Kendra Stream, if she's a woman who values, and this kind of goes in line with the 5 love languages, but I don't necessarily like to use those because they turn into this cliche crap that everybody think is some good shit. Like, it's not. I mean, it's a good way to communicate, but it's not some hallmark shit. Like, it's not something that you can just put on the back of a card and give it to somebody for their birthday. Like, no, no, no. These are real things. So I like to talk about them without using that as a context format. So I just talk about them in a practical way. So you know, she likes to have the time spent, and she likes the validation of masculinity. That's what she likes. Whereas uh, a lot of younger chicks and sometimes older chicks, mostly gynocentric chicks, they like things. They like representations of things. This is why the Black Lives Movement is so dead set on getting statues torn down, while they're okay with the hood being a complete, utter, destructive place and a failure. They're fine with that, but they would rather lobby together. Like, really look at this. They would rather lobby together, get petitions signed, march up and down the street to get a statue taken down, but they won't fix any of the problems that are very apparent in their own places that they live. It's not like, for instance, you don't find these statues in the middle of the hood. They're usually at state capitol buildings, or some well-known park in the upper suburbs. So it's not in the hood. They have a problem with what's going on in another community based on the representation of a statue, but they won't fix the stuff that is right in front of their face every day. Like for instance, gentrification, and they won't fix the rampant unemployment rates, and the fact that we have to go through other people in order to get the necessities for our own communities. Stuff like that. Educating their boys, and why they're failing and flunking out of school. They're not concerned about any of that stuff at all. But that's stuff that they live with every day. Though they ride past the statue one time, and all of a sudden, because it represents some era that we no longer live in regards to the Confederacy, they have to tear it down because it's a representation that they don't want to see. But you're okay with the degradation that you see that you can change in your own community every day. You got to be kidding me. But anyways, my point of it is that um, mostly speaking, gynocentric chicks are fixated with things. That's the reason why they want the statue to come down, because it represents a thing. It makes them, it's feel goodery. They've been tricked into believing that if a man spends so much money on you, then he'll somehow, I don't know, die for you or something. I don't know. I really don't dive too deep into the fuckery, into the feminine chaos in regards to how they translate this shit. But all I know is that it makes no fucking sense at all. But I can explain what it is, if you catch my drift. But anyways, the reason why they like this stuff is because they were taught that these things represent something on its face, meaning that that's where we get the whole ideological view that a good man isn't a good man unless he does X, Y, and Z. Because usually those things are something that are on their face, meaning that they translate into some type of expression where this is a definitive thing that this guy cares about him. When we know that's not fucking true at all. For instance, they think that in order to be masculine, you have to have mounds of money. Who the fuck says that? I mean, because there are a lot of completely gay men who are very rich. I mean, you know, okay, okay, okay. What about the rich females? I mean, are they masculine? Like, none of it makes sense in regards to one for one, and that's why I'm saying you can't use a rational thought when you're trying to figure out the currency of individual women. And the overall, because there are two sides of it. There's the currency of the women who are actually women, and then there's the currency of like the strags and the gynocentric goons. They operate in two different currencies. That's the reason why we have two different languages. That's the reason why you can't be an upstanding man and try to give her something that means something. That's how you know automatically that you're dealing with this type of chick, is if you try to come to her as a woman and she doesn't give you that feminine response that you're expecting, that you know that she's supposed to give you. That should be your cue off top that you're not dealing with a woman who deals in the currency that you're trying to give her. So um it's very different. And that's pretty much what I wanted to lay out, is that the men, we tend to think that if you're nice, this is the biggest lie that we were told. This is the reason why men are caught up in the blue pill fantasy, because they believe that every woman wants the blue pill currency. That's not true. And to some degree, you will find women out there who do want to actually live the blue pill fantasy. They do. They want a super duper nice guy who has no backbone. They want a dude who's gonna work a stable job the rest of his life, and never ask for a raise, and never try to venture out on his own. They want these type of men, but for the vast majority of women, they don't want those men. You'll find some women who do, but for the vast majority, no. That's the reason why a lot of men are coming to terms that they were sold a fantasy. That's the reason why they're accepting the real red pill reality of things, because it's more realistic to the expectations that you can get in regards to dealing with these women. Um, it has nothing to do with who's winning versus who's losing, because like I said, even as a blue pill man, you can eventually, if you're lucky enough, run across a blue pill woman, and you can live your days out with this woman. So it's not impossible. It's just that it's a high unlikelihood that's going to happen when you're living in an actual red pill reality. That's the problem with it. And then on top of that, for the vast majority of women, their currencies are completely different than what you expect to give as a blue pill man. You know, um, okay, so for instance, I have so many ideologies that just make sense in regards to this topic. This is the reason why the drug dealers, the bad boys, etc., are able to keep and maintain these women. It's because not only do they operate in a likeness in regards to a negative pathology, but they operate also because this man is able to give her a structure under this negative pathology. That's a big portion of it. It's not necessarily that he excites her. I mean, because even as a blue pill man, you can excite a woman. I mean, it's not necessarily hard. It's just that what keeps her is the structure. He has something for her to do. He has an expectation of her. And then on top of that, he unapologetically will tell her that he doesn't need her in order to function in the reality that he lives in, because this is actually true. Um, you know, and in regards to the blue pill men, they think that the currency of bending over backwards for women is what's going to keep them, and not giving them any structure, not holding them accountable for anything. But that's the reason why it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it doesn't. It's not that it doesn't work because it is wrong. It doesn't work because it's not practical according to what the reality is telling everybody in regards to the currency of women. This is the reason why you can run into, like I said, a Kendra, and she will cherish things that are non-tangible because her femininity is in check. Her femininity is doing exactly what it needs to do. And then you'll run into a hyena, and you'll try to apply the same love and care that you would to a Kendra to a hyena, and you'll get a visceral reaction from a hyena. I mean, this should be pretty straightforward, I think, but I think that a lot of dudes don't understand that. I mean, as I'm explaining it, I'm sure it makes sense, but I'm trying to explain it in such a practical way that you can see the clear difference in the women that you have in your life right now. Who is a woman versus who is a gynocentric chick? Um, because they're not going to react to the same currency. Remember, what she wants is different than what you're okay. What she wants is a whole lot more than what she has to output. You have to keep that in mind. So just because you're giving a chick your love, your affection, just like you would do a Kendra, that's not her currency. When you start to give her her currency, which, like I said, is probably some superficial bullshit, she's going to be more she's going to be more receptive to that, and it has to be over the point to where she feels like she's getting more than what she's putting out. That's essentially how you keep a woman. I don't know why you would want to keep that type of woman. I mean, I guess, if you're a superficial man yourself, that would probably be the best woman for you. But there's always going to be somebody out there who has more money than you. That's the problem with that, is because there's no cap to the individuality that you can show there, because there really isn't no individuality. I mean, money has the same face on it no matter who's passing it out, who's receiving it. That's the problem with that. But as far as dealing with a woman in her currency, you can fashion it to such a way that she is now in tune and pretty much addicted to your version of what. Even though that there are masculine men out there, you can make your currency with your face on it, and you can give it to the woman, and she use that as a currency to accept. And after a while, after she uses that currency for a while, you won't have to worry about another dude with higher masculinity than you, if that's possible, coming around stealing your chick, because she's addicted to your currency. Whereas when you're dealing with um, a woman who is gynocentric and has superficial desires, I mean, a Gucci bag coming from any dude is still a Gucci bag. That's the problem with that. So personally, like I said, if that's your route that you want to take in regards to dealing with these chicks on a superficial level, if you want to pay that currency, go right ahead. But I'm here to tell you that it's probably going to end in another man buying two Gucci bags compared to the one you just bought her. So that's that on that. But you always want, and there's I'm what I wanted to do is make the clear delineation between the currencies of different types of women. But I want to shift now into explaining that how to deal with a woman who has a currency that is not superficial. Um, Basically, how you go about, she'll tell you exactly everything that you need to know in regards to what she wants from you. Most women, they pick you, like, that's just the case. They see you move, they watch you for a little bit, and they make their decision on what they want to do. They imagine, I've said so many times that women, they have the ability to teleport their own emotions into a different universe, pretty much a different reality. I call it the fantasy world, but it's more than likely a different universe where something else, the same people exist, and something dissimilar is happening. It's the same people involved. It's just a different scenario. Women have that ability to do that, and then they'll play this out and they'll watch it. Um, in this fictitious scenario, and they'll see themselves progressing in their lives with you, like almost, it's like a movie playing before their eyes. They can explain to you what's going to happen and how they see things, and this is the reason why women have such a great ability to have fantastical ideas compared to what the reality is saying. The reality could be saying that shit ain't gonna never happen, but in her mind, she's created a whole 2-hour movie behind it. She's got the whole script written, and all the actors. She's produced it and everything. She's already figured all this stuff out. They have the ability to do that. And when she goes through that process, she's going to bring back those emotions that came from that fictitious, that were produced in that fictional realm, if you want to call it that, and she's going to express those to you, and that's going to be your cue to pick up on that. So most times they'll tell you exact. No woman who is a woman and has their femininity intact is going to be in your space for no reason. She's there for something. I mean, sometimes it's very clear, sometimes it's not. But you as a man, you should be investigating that if you're looking for that type of woman. Um, because she's more than likely already made her choice, so that's why she's there. She's waiting for you to pick her up. But anyway, how you cultivate the currency for these types of women is you're you're everything that you need to be for the most part. I would hope so, anyways, if she's choosing you. Because these women, they tend to go with men who want to progress in life, men who do not stagnate, men who always are looking for the next addition to their masculinity. These are usually the men that are going to be picked. That's why I tell men all the time that it's good for you to practice this outside of having a woman, because it's not like she's going to dislike any of the additions to your masculinity. I would hope not, but at the same time, it's going to stunt your ability to grow in regards to the pinnacles you can reach in your masculinity. That's even true for me myself. Every bit of energy that I give to a woman is a bit of energy that I'm not giving to myself. Versus if I was completely single, then I could focus all my energy into building up my masculinity. So it's not because she's going to dislike it. It's because there's a certain threshold you need to meet in your masculinity before you're even dealing with this type of woman. Otherwise, you could potentially lose her because there are going to be mistakes that you make in creation of your principles. I've been through it. I'm pretty sure other men have been through it as well. But for the most part, these women, they don't want your things. They don't want your stuff. They could care less about it. I mean, I've seen, and to be honest with you, I don't know if you guys have seen it before, but I've seen it plenty of times. There'll be there'll be a homeless couple that have been on the streets for years. She's clearly not with him because of his stuff. He doesn't have anything. Even homeless men can have a certain level of masculinity, because you have to understand that masculinity was in existence well before civilizations was, well before we created houses. And I mean, this stuff has been around for a long time. So it's not fictional to imagine that a woman who is homeless and a man who is homeless, a woman could be drawn to him because of his masculinity solely. So that should let you know alone, because like I said, I've seen it before, so I'm pretty sure that you guys have seen it before. That should let you know alone what type of woman that you're dealing with if she is to attracted to your masculinity as a man for the most part. Sure, you're going to have some proof of what your masculinity can do and what it can produce in regards to your protection and provision. But for the core of it, that's what she's looking for, because she knows that everything, masculinity has a consequence to it, and the consequence is natural, regardless if you want it to be or not. You know, when you have your masculinity intact and you have your currency intact, there are going to be certain productions that are produced as a result of that, and one of them is going to be women. That's why I tell men, just get your life together and then you'll get the woman that's meant for you, because that is a consequence of masculinity, and you'll have the proper currency to give to these women who are worthy to receive your masculinity, and you will be pleased with their femininity, I would hope, because sometimes strags, they do like that kind of masculinity. It's just that they don't have the proper feminine response in order to suffice for a good back and forth, balancing of the masculine and feminine. That's the problem with that. Those are the women that will more than likely self sabotage the relationship, because they don't have the proper response and they know it. So they'll turn it into, oh, this is your fault. I'm sure you guys have seen that before. But anyway, we're not gonna get to that. Um, so upping your masculinity can give you the right currency to have a conversation with these women, in the feminine and masculine, and you can have the woman that you want and need in your life. I mean, I, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not guilty. I'm guilty of a lot of shit. So, I'm not a perfect man. In order for me to get to this level of understanding, I had to make a lot of mistakes. I'll be honest with you. But I've learned from my mistakes. I'm here to give you guys the shortcuts to the mistakes, and the things that I wish, the forefathers before me would have made a note of to pass to me. I wasn't taught any of this. I learned all this stuff hard knock. I mean, I am literally, my life is literally an anomaly. I am an anomaly. I'm not supposed to exist. Not only did I survive Detroit for 20 years, I've survived the military for 10 years. And then I survived going through divorces pretty much unscathed. I mean, uh, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm either supposed to be dead in jail or buried under so much child support and alimony that I couldn't be here to talk to you guys in the first place. Like I said, so I would hope that you guys listen to me due to that simple truth. Other than me telling the truth about how men and women are existing together. But anyway, let me get to this chat a little bit. I see that it's popping. Iman Sosa was good. Was good, Topaz. How you doing? Hey, Mike Kendra, how are you? Let's see. Uh, hey, Rainy One, how are you? How you doing? Good to see you too. D Scott, what's good, homie? Let's see who else we got here. Um, let's see. Rainy Woman says the current culture is addicted to feelings and is totally dysfunctional. I got that. Yep, definitely. Um, and the reason why I totally agree with that is because this current culture is enthralled with instant gratification. That's pretty much what it boils down to. That's the whole reason why TikTok blew up. TikTok videos are like what, 10 seconds long? How does 10-second long videos keep your attention for hours and days on end? Because it's a constant push and it's a constant validation of instant gratification, which boils down to little trinkets of constant dopamine being produced. They just figured out a way how to get you to do it. I mean, that's nothing more than conditioning. It's no differently than you waking up in the morning and checking your phone. You've been conditioned to do so because you get a feel good hormone release when you do that. So they tapped into that and created TikTok, because our culture is based on that anyways. They knew how to get you to fall into instant gratification, as far as the ones who are addicted to it anyways. Let's see. They don't even think about the man dying for them. They just want to brag about the item. Yeah, exactly. I find that so funny. You know, Women like the movie Titanic, for many reasons, because Leonardo DiCaprio was a complete simp on that. He shouldn't have been going after no chick, no dude's wife at all, first off. um, but not only that, he did a lot of things and he gave her a lot of things that were valuable, in the tangible and intangible. And then on top of that, he died. He was the complete simp. Like, that's the reason why that movie went to number one for that time. Excuse me. Been having allergies lately. It's been killing me. Holy smokes. But anyways, that's the reason why that movie blew up so much, because it hit so many high points and played into female nature, um, that it just did well in the box office. But yeah, they don't care about if you die, because they didn't give a shit about Leonardo DiCaprio really dying. They cried or whatever, but they were thinking about all the other shit that he did for, at least when I, uh, hear things that talk about the movie, they'll mention it as either the end point or they'll mention it briefly. But anyway, let's see what's going on. Good to see you too, Topaz. Uh, my homie, Truth as I Knew It is in the building. What's good with you? Let's see who else we got to add. Let's see. Um, Strags and hyenas love true masculinity. They just don't like it very much because they can't control it. I would say they don't like it too much because it holds them accountable. That's the thing about masculinity. Masculinity is omnidirectional, meaning that it shoots and exudes like a Wi-Fi signal. Um, so there's not one spot that you can't get hit by this signal. And if you're in close range to masculinity, you're going to feel it. And you're going to feel it's almost like if you watch Dragon Ball Z, when a new character comes onto the scene, and then you see the power level pressure start to push everybody down. Yeah, you'll feel that every single where you go, if you're not um used to a man who exudes high masculinity. That's what it feels like to a lot of these chicks. And that feeling is always a constant force of accountability. They know that they can't move an inch within his realm without being accountable for it. And I think that's the biggest thing that they do not like about it. But I will agree that, it's because they can't control it. But I think they would love to control it. It's just that they don't know how. And I think there are some women out there who can control masculinity, but they're really, really, really high up in feminine, and they turn to dark feminine. Um, uh, which I'll talk about in another stream. But they turn into dark feminine. That's what I call it, anyways. The females who use their femininity for bad things, to manipulate men into the wrong direction and to hurt them and to harm them. They're dark feminine, in my opinion. But those women, they know how to use masculinity. That's why that's where the whole ideology about the only reason why we have such an influx of men dying because of a chick is because those men have low masculinity anyway. So the little bit of femininity that these women do have is higher than their masculinity. So they're able to manipulate them in such a way that they will become attack dogs. So, yeah, I definitely agree that it's because they cannot control it in that aspect. Let's see. I call it. They love the way it makes them feel inside. Yeah, because it's validation. It makes them. Females uh, from the dark feminine side, they always look for uh, um, them to be in control of something. They love being in control. I mean, they have no, like I said, they have no problem with all the dysfunction that goes on in their life because they're in control of it. The only thing that what they don't like is the things that are superficially representative of something that they can't control, like the statues. You get where I'm coming from with that? Because they can't control what's going on downtown. They can control all the dysfunction that goes on in their hood, which they're totally fine with because they're in control of it. They don't have a problem with any bad pathology so long as they're in control of it. And long as they're heads of it, they don't care about who's hurt or who goes without. They don't care as long as they're in control. They don't care about anything because that's validation for them. The minute that they can't, that's the thing that intrigues them about high masculine guys. Because I'll find women who are I can see that they're attracted, but I can see that they don't want to approach me because I exude so much masculinity. I mean, I actually just went to Walmart today, not too long ago, and I was in there with Aka with her. We was walking around, and we seen this chick went out, and I looked at her, I nodded, and she nodded back, and we laughed, and the chick looked back, and she smiled at me, and she kept going, and I was like, she recognized exactly what it is. Um, because of the way that Aka was postured and the way that I was postured. We weren't even doing anything or saying anything. She just witnessed this exchange and she understood. So they know what these things look like subconsciously, I believe, and I think sometimes consciously they do. They know when they recognize the dude that's completely out of the league, but nonetheless. They are attracted to it and they like that kind of stuff. And some of them try it. And these are the ones that sabotage the relationships. So, man, if you ever run across a woman who does not respond well to your masculinity, get rid of her because she's eventually going to sabotage the relationship, anyways. Or at least get as much as you can out of her, I guess. I mean, you're already there. You might as well scrape the bowl, I guess. I don't know. If it's worth it to you. A lot of men, they think so, but personally, I don't. I just rather get, because my time is worth more than anything that a woman has to offer to me. So, you know. But sometimes I'll exchange my time for what a woman has to offer. So, uh, that goes without saying. But let's see here. Uh, you had a purpose. That's the point. Yep. It was good, Gino. Let's see. It said, I like that movie because it shows that people shouldn't be so arrogant. Yeah, it does, huh? It has a lot of good points to it. I do like it. Let's see. I I call it nice nasty behavior. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's the what do you call it? It's the back rub before the belly stab. That's what it is. What's good, Grinch? See you in the building. Women with high femininity don't even control masculinity. We can sway and influence it to a degree, though. The intent is the difference. Well, personally, I've seen this. I've seen women with high masculine. I don't know if you've seen it, but I've seen women with high femininity negatively manipulate men. Okay, I'll give an example where you see that at. You'll see that if you have a strag grandmother and she manipulates her grandkids, especially the males. Though she's not just in my opinion, she's not just influencing him. She's actually controlling him through shaming language. That's where the control is, because it's not necessarily that she is and we know shaming language is nothing but gaslighting, but it's so strong to a lot of men that they feel a duty behind it. That's why I mean that it is control, because that's where you get the men. Remember back in the 90s, your mama jokes was like jokes that you really didn't want to tell, but if you really wanted to get under somebody's skin, maybe fight them, that's what you do. It's because we were trained to be under the duty of a woman's femininity for the most part, no matter if it was good or not. That's the reason why even me personally, in retrospect, looking back at some of the things that my mother did, I was completely blind to them because my duty behind my mother uh, preceded my own well-being. So it was hard for me to see that overtly what was going on, if you get where I'm coming from. So I know what you're saying, that it is because I totally agree that it is a gaslight. Um, I tend to disagree because men operate in duty. Even at a young age, we operate in duty. We don't do things because we feel like that's what we should do. Even low level masculine dudes, they hit points where they feel a duty to do stuff. And I know that sounds strange to say feel and to say you're not feeling, but you get what I mean. They find it, they find what they need to do in a duty stance, meaning that they tend to look at it as something that they have to do, and it's not just a feeling for them. Because feelings are something that you can manipulate, but duty isn't. You can't manipulate duty because you know that you're supposed to do something, regardless of how you feel. Because, for instance, there were plenty of times where I seen Dudes talk about there'll be some, like some big bully, talking about some dude mother that he ain't ever met, but he'd knock him out. He'd knock him out over his mom, knowing good and well he feels in his heart, he feels in his soul that he isn't no match for this big dude. He feels like he might lose this, but out of duty, which precedes any type of feelings a man has, even a young man, it's he's going to act on it. Not because his mom didn't tell him you better defend your mom at every turn that you get. No, no, no. We were programmed to do this. My mom never ever told, and I'm sure plenty of guys have can relate to this, where their mom was never the one who told them you better defend my name with your life. No, we were programmed to do that. This is something that um, that comes with the pathology, that men and women receive at a very early age, because once again we do what we do as men out of duty, and then we find regard for our feelings. Sometimes, a lot of times, men with low masculinity, they will act on their feelings a lot of times, but um, there are certain things that you can do that you can get the same reaction out of them at any point in time, and those things that they do, no matter what, because they fall behind principality. Principality is not an emotional thing. When you apply a certain circumstance to an individual and you get the same response every single time, that's a principle programming, meaning that no matter where this person is, no matter what circumstance this person is, that you are going to get the same reaction out of them every single time. Principle falls firmly right behind duty. That's the reason why I can't say that it's an emotional thing. Whereas when you have femininity works on the emotion. Um, it works on That's the reason why maggles and low masculinity dudes find themselves being controlled by a woman's femininity, because it works on their emotional side. Remember, women are always, these type of women anyways, they're always trying to bring you into their arena because they know that they have more power there. And a lot of men fall for that. If a woman can get you to an emotional state, that's when she knows she got you. I mean, we just seen this on a few other panels not too long ago, with the little chick, what's her name, Renee or whatever. She was doing that because she was drawing the men into her arena, not so she can necessarily uh fault them under duty, but so she can control them, because she is more powerful in an emotional state than they are. That's the way I see it anyway, personal opinion. um you know we could talk about it later, I guess. I don't know. But that's the way I see it. But when a man reacts to something, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter who he's dealing with, no matter what where he is, how he is, what he feels like, when he reacts the same way, he's doing it out of principality, which once again falls firmly behind duty. So, but anyway, let's see. Women, okay, see, she's masculine. Yeah. Okay, Toga says compelled. Yes, they're compelled by principality. That's what compels men, in regards to giving the same response over and over and over again. Principality. That's the reason why I tell men to work on their principles, because those are your guard dogs. Those are the things that will protect you from being drawn into emotional states so much so that you make a bad decision. Because when you practice principality over and over again, it becomes like a muscle. It becomes a knee-jerk reaction rather than something that you have to think about. So I encourage men to gain and grow their principalities that work for them as the individual man, because it will protect them from falling victim to the emotional states that they may succumb to. I don't know how it works for women in that regard. I would think that it's somewhat similar. I haven't pondered on it enough to even give you a context. But, as far as men, I understand that because I've been through that before. Because, for instance, I have a principle not to yell at women. And that's because she's drawing me, because I know what it does. She's drawing me into a state where I become unstable, and then she can then manipulate me. I know that. for sure. I've been through that plenty of times. So I have a principle that I will always keep a calm head no matter how I feel, because it helps me manipulate the situation to my favor. Because if I keep it in a rational state, she's losing every single time, because women are less rational than men on the face of things, and intrinsically on things. So I know if I keep it in a rational space, then I'll get my point across no matter if she walks away or not, because she didn't draw me, she didn't win. Anytime a woman, to me, anytime a woman walks away from rationality, that's a loss on her end, because she's losing more from the situation than I am, because I'm still in the state that I am. She went from crying her heart out emotionally, and my rational does not respond to that, especially if it's irrational. A lot of times, I have my emotions too, don't get me wrong. If there's something wrong with any of my women, yes, I will address it in an emotional state, don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about the women who are using dark feminine, that's what I like to call it, dark feminine, in order to draw men in order to make them victims of the dark feminine. I won't respond to that, because I know it's a trap. But I know this because I practice it over and over and over again. I practice it so much so, once again, it's a knee jerk response, because I get the feeling, and I know what it is. I've dealt with women who yelled at me and stuff like that, and it's not because, oh, he a bitch, he can't put a woman in check. I'll firmly check a woman, definitely, but sometimes I don't want to do that shit, because I'm not putting that energy into you. I don't know you. I've dealt with women out in public, so um, you know, so I'm not going to give her that energy. But I know that's what she's trying to do, and I have that feeling that comes up that say, "Cuss this bitch the fuck out," and I'm like, "Nah, it's not going to work." And I just let her say what she needs to say, and I say what I need to say, and she walks away all pouty, and I walk away standing firm in whatever it is that I believe in at that point in time. That I, in regards to what I had to say, that's how I handle it. But there are many principles that men can practice over and over and over again to defeat them becoming victims to these dark feminine chicks. But that's how I see it. You know, uh, if a woman can tap into a man's duty and use it incorrectly. We see this plenty of times. We see this so much. Um, for instance, men have an intrinsic duty to protect. This is how you get men turned into attack dogs recklessly, because she manipulated his masculinity into doing something. She hijacked it pretty much into doing something that goes against his best interests, and that's staying alive, of course. She hijacked his masculinity. That's how you get attack dogs. There are so many instances that I can point out where a man's uh, a man's intrinsic duty has been hijacked, because he has low masculinity compared to her femininity, whatever it may be. Or he could be just a complete low simp. I mean, there is a point that is the lowest of the low, to where you don't need much to actually manipulate a man. Um, but nonetheless, they hijack the man's duty and they use it to manipulate things to their favor. And most of them do it through their low level femininity, unfortunately. Um, but anyway, I think I've talked long enough. If you guys don't have any questions, uh, I guess I'll get out of here. But if you do, let me know. I'm going to eat a little bit more of this fruit real quick. mm, mm, that's some good stuff. But anyway, I'm glad that you all showed up. I didn't want this to be an hour and it turned into an hour. But anyway, it's one for the books. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Uh, thank you all for coming once again. I appreciate you listening. Um, but may you all have a good day. And of course, peace be with you.